Hi everyone, welcome to episode 66 of Show Me How It's Done. Today we have a brand new suite that I'm so excited to share with you. It was just released today and it's actually an early release for our annual catalog, which will come out in May. That being said, the only thing that is going to be in the catalog is the stamps and the dies from the set. Oop, falling over themselves. So the die set and the stamps, they will be the things that are in the new catalog. But Stampin' Up! Has also given us some coordinating products that are available while supplies last to go with this bundle. So I'm really excited to show you a project today using the suite, but I just wanted to give you a little rundown of what you can purchase. If you want the Take It All bundle, you'll get everything I'm showing you. And of course, if you do decide to order this bundle, go to my website, order it today, and I'm more than happy to count it towards a monthly club order. Just so you guys know, that monthly club is on the second Tuesday and second Wednesday of the month, and I am back to in-person by registration only. So there's limited spots, and I still have the mail-out kits and the pickup kits if you can't make it. So on the second Tuesday of the month, I will send you out a link to the video tutorial if you've purchased the kit, or anytime throughout the month if you place an order of $35 or more from my website. I will also mail you that kit along with the link so that you can follow along with the projects, just as a little thank you. So let's go. Item number 1 is these Rhinestone Basic Jewels, and they come in all sorts of colors. They are mostly featuring our Pacific Point, Bermuda Bay, kind of soft seafoam calypso, or what have we got here? I don't even know. There was one more in there, Coastal Cabana. There you go. And then they've kind of done a moderation of those shades as well. So these guys, and I'm giving Canadian prices. So if you're somewhere else, make sure to just chat with your demonstrator or go online and figure out the price. But these are $9. And as you can see, like there's a whole whack of them in there, which is fantastic for crafting. Second item is the Waves of Inspiration stamp set. So you can purchase it on its own if you'd like for $32, or you can combine it with the coordinating dies, which are $47 on their own, or you get a 10% discount if you buy the whole bundle, and that would be $71. So it's a really good bundle. It does coordinate really nicely, and but you can also use each of the pieces on their own as well. So we're going to use a few today. Now back to another product that's only while supplies last, and you can see I've used up a ton. So here we go. Here's the Waves of the Ocean 12 by 12 designer series paper. You can't really see it too well, but you can see there are all different shades and stuff of the paper. But I've been prepping for my monthly card class this month. We're going to do a project with this suite, so I've had to use a bunch of those papers, but look how fun the bubbles are. I love them. So the packages are $15.75, and they come with 12 by 12 sheets, 12 of those, all different patterns and colors, and they're just simply a lot of fun. So we're going to play with that at club this month if you regularly attend. And then the other part that we will, of course, be playing with too is the new foils. So you get 2 sheets of 12 by 12 in these. So this is the silver. This one would be that Bermuda Bay. And then you've got the Pacific Point hiding back there as well. So these guys are just really fun. They make a gorgeous set of waves depending on, you know, your preference. You can choose any of the colors, but I couldn't decide. So we're using silver today, and then at club this month, we're going to use the other 2 colors. So you can see those as well. And then if you want everything that I've just shown you, you're looking at a $109.50 bundle, which would also give you my class set for free, and I also give you a bonus little gift when you spend over $100. So keep that in mind as we're creating. Maybe you'll decide that you love this too. So the card that I want to show you is this one here. You can see it's got so much shine and shimmer because I did some embossing, both with a white embossing powder under here and the clear embossing powder. So I will show you how to do that a little bit today, but let's get cutting. If you want to follow along, I'm going to shout out the measurements as we go, but of course you can always come back. I have them listed in the directions on the YouTube link, so you can always do this after you've had a chance just to watch the card. So, oh, and there's the inside. It's really fun, just plain and simple. All right, let's get going. So you're going to need a card base of Night of Navy, and I have cut this piece at 4 1/4 by 11, and I'm putting a score mark at 5 1/2, right down the middle there. Okay, so that's my card base. For the inside of my card, might as well get those two pieces cut. I used Pool Party and Basic White. So your Pool Party is going to be cut at 4 by 5 1/4, and the white piece is 3 3/4 by 5. And those two you can go ahead and add to the inside of your card right now. We'll add this little pelican later when we've got our inks out, but it is really nice just to get papers out of your way. So let's do that. I lost my scissors somewhere already. Oh well. So any flat adhesive will do. I've got our wonderful double-sided tape. You can just tear it off the roll here, but if you've got the seal or any other sort, it's totally up to you. Okay. So I just really like having usually a white piece for people to write on, but I thought this is a very fancy card. We're going to step it up a little bit, and we'll add a Pool Party in there as well. If you wanted to go more vibrant, of course, maybe you want to use the Bermuda Bay, and that would work for you also. There we go. So there's the inside of your card. Now on the outside of our card, whoops, we've got lots of decals and fun things to cut, but the first thing that I want us to do is to focus on this background. Do you see the kind of shiny background? So in order to get that effect and still have a nice frame around, we're still using Night of Navy, and I've cut a piece at 4 by 5 1/4. We're going to do some embossing on this. So in the spirit of using stamps that you may already own, I did tie in one that was from our annual catalog. So this is called Gentle Waves. However, if you don't own this set and you only purchased this one, the easiest way to make this background is just to stamp one set of the waves across the bottom, flip it over, and do the same on the other side. It will still give you that kind of wave background, and nobody will know that the tip of the waves are actually hiding in the center. It doesn't matter. It'll still give you this fun little look. But I just wanted a nice cohesive background, so I grabbed my Gentle Waves, and I'm going to show you how to do a little bit of heat embossing with that. So the first thing you will need is a Versamark ink pad. That's our nice sticky ink. And you'll need the clear embossing powder. This is a super old container, but they used to sell them like really tall. So now I just refill this one all the time. So I've got my clear embossing powder. You can use white alternatively if you don't own that, but the white will be very defined in the background. It won't give you kind of that wet, clear look. So I wanted the white because that was just really fun. And mounting your block, of course, you're either going to use the largest of our stamping blocks, or if you have the Stamparatus, this is a really good stamp to use with that machine too, simply because you don't have to hold this in your hands. But how I like to ink this up is just putting it flat on the desk, and I'm going to ink it all over the place. But you will also want to have some sort of scrap under your workspace, because this stamp is actually larger than the paper we're putting it on, so you're going to end up with ink on your desk if you don't have a scrap. Okay, so let's do this all across the stamp. You just want to make sure you get everywhere. So sometimes I go around even a couple times. Every crevice you want ink in. There we go. Now we're going to stamp onto your paper, making sure, you know, that you've got it kind of underneath the center of this. So hold it for a couple minutes or press down, whatever you prefer. If you're really afraid of getting a clear image, if you kind of pick this up, it sticks to your stamp. You can also just like rub it super gently on top of the stamp itself, and that way you know every single part is touched. So it's completely up to you if you're a little uncertain, because once you take this off, that's it. You can't do anything. So you can't really see this at the moment, but I'm going to put this in a little tray, and I'm just going to gently sprinkle my embossing powder across. And you can kind of just tip it down the paper. This is why I like to do this in some sort of plate or bowl. So the top of the set is very solid. The bottom has those defined lines. And I like to just flip it over and give a little tap so that anywhere that really shouldn't have powder doesn't. So this is what your background would look like if you chose to use white. So that might be your cup of tea, but I really liked the wet wave look. So that's why I'm going to heat emboss this, and it's going to turn a really fun clear color. So before I do that, pardon me, I do like just getting this out of my way. I don't want to spill it. Okay. Keep cool. You won't be able to hear me, but you will definitely be able to see the changes as I go here. I've only done half at the moment, but you can really see the difference. You can see the part that's melted, and that's giving me that really dark navy wet look, and the part that I still have to do now. So I'm just gonna turn this around so it's close to me. There we go. So there is our beautiful background. The clear kind of has a few sparkles in it too, so it almost gives it like this iridescent look, which I really love. So because I wanted this to look almost like it was the original background, I'm going to add this with tape or a flat adhesive because I want the blue frame to just blend right into that background and give us that kind of perfect wave look. Kind of tricking the eyes because you're like, how did you do that so perfectly? But it's 2 pieces of paper, but nobody needs to know that. Otherwise, you're just a super talented person who's made some sort of frame. Okay, so I decided I wanted the more solid part of the waves down in the bottom because that's kind of the bulk of the ocean, and then the nice like ripples on the top. We're covering most of this up, but it just gives you a little bit more perspective on, you know, the way the waves are going. Okay, so there's our background. Before I move on, I did want to mention if you decided you wanted to go really fun and funky, you could, instead of Night of Navy, perhaps you'd want to bring in something like the Bermuda Bay or even the Coastal Cabana. This is Coastal Cabana. Bermuda Bay would be darker, or you could do Pool Party, but you get this really nice look of the waves on that paper too. So, you know, maybe you'd want the difference in the two colors. And then of course, on my sample, I decided to go with the navy background here. That would really make this part pop out on your card. So mine is rather blended, but I was happy with it. If you wanted something a little bit bolder, then of course you would do that same technique, just on a different color of paper. Completely up to you. And whatever you choose for this, maybe swap your background color for. So if you're doing Pool Party, that's great. If you decided, hey, I actually really do like this Coastal Cabana, then maybe put that on the inside of the card. Okay, so we're not using that piece. We're ready to keep going for our card background. Okay, so this background that I have here is just a Night of Navy frame right here. And I have decided to cut that at, sorry, let me figure this out. This one is 3 1/8 by 4 5/8. And that just happened to fit perfectly around my designer paper because I wanted to get as many of those sheets out as possible. So I cut myself a piece of designer series paper. It's the yellow one, but of course you can use any of the other ones too. This one is 3 by 4 1/2. And maybe you've already caught it. I did stamp a wave. That doesn't come on the paper, but I stamped a wave from our stamp set in white embossing powder. And we're just going to attach those two pieces together because you saw me emboss here, so I didn't want you to get bored all day. So those two go together with a flat adhesive, and then they actually get popped up on the card. However, maybe we won't actually put this together yet. Don't do it. Okay, I'm just gonna keep putting my adhesive for a second. Do your adhesive. Keep this one to the side. This one you can put on the card with dimensionals. It won't matter if that's done now. And instead of putting it on straight, I thought it was kind of fun just to put it a little off kilter. But, you know, if that hurts your head, like sometimes it does for me, you can put it straight in the middle. But what I did was I just twisted teeny tiny bit. So we've got a little angle for our card. Okay, so the reason I mentioned maybe just keep this one to the side is we're going to do a little bit of work with a blue wave and our silver wave, and it's nice to kind of just trim those off of the edge instead of having to worry about them later. Okay, so put that down. Let's get working here. So I have taken just a scrap piece of Pool Party, so there's no definite measurement for this. This was just an extra scrap, and I can actually probably stamp another wave on here later. But what I'm going to do is I've stamped my wave nicely in the corner, and then I've cut one of the fancy waves here out of the silver foil. I'm going to glue those two pieces together, right? Like this. You want to make sure your wave is in the corner because that means you have only this section to be trimming. If you don't, then you end up having to trim around the whole thing. Okay, so just a little bit more work for you that way. And we're going to do some gluing. But I just remembered I used my glue up, so I need a brand new one. Here we go. Thing I always have a stash. Okay, a nice new combo liquid glue, or you can use the fine tip glue pen, whatever you prefer. On the back of your wave, just do teeny tiny little dots on some of these large sections. If you are only making maybe 1 or 2 of these, the other really, really good idea would be to use these adhesive sheets and turn this into a sticker. So you basically put the adhesive sheet on the back of your foil before you cut out the wave. And then once you cut the wave out, it will turn it into a sticker for you. So you don't have to do this glue thing. But I was doing a ton of these waves, so I didn't have time to make them all into stickers. And that's okay. All right. Gently put this into the corner here. And because you have done that white embossing, you do really want to make sure your glue sticks to that spot. So just gently tap all over the place. If you don't want to get super sticky, another idea is just to take a block, smack it down. If you leave it for a couple seconds, it will just make sure everything's in place, and you can just kind of work from there. Like that. Okay, so we do want this to dry a little bit before we fool around. So I'm going to use this time now to cut out some of my embellishments. Well, you guys will. I've cut them, so I'm just going to tell you what you need to do. And when this is dry, we will cut it and trim it. So here's the card back in your nice viewpoint, right? Like that. There you go. Okay, so we need a few clouds. We need this little pelican. We need this sentiment. Let's do all of those. Okay, so for our clouds, I have made 2 of them, and I'm going to do the last one with you. Okay, so I did a small and a large, and I just need 1 more large. So we'll do that together. And, whew, oh my, I think I'm losing my marbles today. Need my machine. There it goes. Okay, so we're going to use our mini cut and emboss machine, which, if you have not heard, it is on for 20% off this month. Yay! And there's 13 bundles that are specifically made so that all their dies go in this machine. You don't need the big one. Those bundles are also 20% off. So instead of 10% discount, there's 20. I did post the information on my Lauren Scraplot page and my Instagram, but if you missed it or can't find it, send me a message. I'm happy to give you that info, or you can go online, and of course on my site it would clearly say those for you too. So mini cut and emboss machine is fantastic because it's so light, it's so tiny. If you're maybe, you know, have a little wrist trouble, it is very easy to use. So we're going to use plate number 1 right here, and then you're going to use 2 clear plates. That's how we're going to run our dies through. The other plates in your section, these are for embossing folders, whether they're thick or thin. Okay, so just keep that in mind. If you read them all, they will tell you that you know what they're for. But number 3 and 4, you won't really use unless you're using those mini embossing folders. So we've got our dies. I'm going to take out my large cloud die like that. And then also I want a little bit, these weird dies, they actually give you a little bit of character on your set. Okay, so that's going to be fun. What I did was I ended up turning, this is my Mother of Pearl Designer Series paper. I turned one little section here into a sticker. So I took my adhesive sheet, put it on the back, and then when I ran this through, these little extra pieces ended up being actually really easy to do because I didn't have to sit there and glue them. So I'm just going to cut off this excess because you don't need to worry about that. But you can see the difference between my section that has the sticker and the section that doesn't. Because we're popping these clouds up on dimensionals, we don't want them to be a sticker. Okay, so using your cut and emboss machine is very simple. We're just going to put down that white plate and a clear plate. Put your piece of paper onto the platform. And I'm going to put my large cloud up in the space that I know is not a sticker. And my little cloud character is down in the space that does have sticker on the back. Take a second plate and throw it over top. There we go. This is very difficult doing it opposite what I usually do. There we go. And then you're going to roll it through. Okay. I'm just going to move this out of our way because you don't need it anymore. Okay, so the first little cloud sometimes just needs a little poke through those holes. So there's my mother of pearl cloud. And it does have actually a little bit of embossing on it. But if you want that to be more defined, that's where that weird looking die comes into play. I've turned it into a sticker. So now all I have to do is take this little bit off the back, and it's sticky, and I can add it to my cloud like this. Okay, so that is a great alternative to having to sit here with my glue and gluing all of those little pieces. Now that's ready to go. So I have 3 clouds all ready to go. What about my sentiment? I have grabbed just a scrap of basic white. It doesn't have to be anything pretty or any specific size. And we're just going to grab a sentiment from our stamp set. So I picked You're Totally Awesome and The Night of Navy ink. All right, so with our ink pads, they're like a makeup case, just opens straight up. Tap, 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 because they're very nice and juicy. You can see it's quite covered in ink. Hold that there. And now I've got my great sentiment. So I wanted to make this, you know, the exact same size as the sentiment was. If you're somebody who really does not like fussy cutting at all, of course you could find maybe a little rectangle set or a circle, and that would give you, you know, a really fun shape to use. But I'm just going to take my scissors and gently cut around the shape that I have here. So the only thing I'm going to kind of go up and down with is just give a little bit definition on the bottom row here. You can also cut straight across if you really want to. There we go. So there is You're So Totally Awesome. That one is ready to go for us. Last but not least, we need this little pelican. So this is one solid stamp. Looks like that. He's got a lot of shading already in there, which is why it's so beautiful. When we stamp this on the inside, we didn't have to do anything to it. So I've stamped this just on a piece of basic white using the early Espresso ink. And I'm going to color it to give it a little bit of definition with my blends. So if you have these colors, this is the series that I used. For my Pelican, I used the light Daffodil Delight, light Pumpkin Pie, and light and dark Gray Granite. For the wood, I'm using bronze, but of course we have all of those wonderful new shades in the naturals tones, so maybe you want to use one of those instead. Okay, so the little tiny legs are just going to be pumpkin pie. That's all we're using it for. And the beak is going to be the light Daffodil Delight. Of course, if you have any of the other light yellows, that works too. So now for my gray granites, I'm going to start with the dark one. And everywhere that Stampin' Up! Has kind of already added a little bit of shading to feathers, That's what I'm going to use this marker for. I'm coming in and I'm just going over all those lines, not really doing anything on his head. If you want, you could do the slightest of shadows, okay? Just something small. Now your light gray granite, we're going to take and color over every part of your pelican. So including the feathers that you just shaded, I'm going to add that onto there, okay? Now as this sets, the colors will blend and you'll be able to see a really nice definition of those wings and plumage and the lighter color. For the wood, because it had so much definition as well, I didn't want to go overboard, so I'm just taking my bronze and I'm going to color in all of these wood planks all together at once, and then we'll just do a little lightening in the center of them. Okay, so all of them together. There you go. So I've got a little bit of definition as well with that, but to add to it, I'm actually going to come back with my light gray granite, and with the thick tip, I'm just going to go over the sections that had the definition and scribble up the middle just to kind of mess the color up a little bit. And this doesn't have to be perfect. It just is so that your colors kind of have a little bit of character. So you can see they're already kind of moving. If there was anything that you wanted to have a little bit more brown, just come back. You can add these ropes. And as those colors set, they'll just really bleed into each other. Okay, so those are all the extra pieces that we needed. My wave should now be dry. So we're gonna bring this over here. I mentioned we're putting it right into the corner, and I'm just gonna take some scissors and cut around these extra sections now. You can rest right along the foil and use it kind of as a buffer. And you could even go slightly underneath it if you needed to. Okay, so just go all the way around the wave. Doesn't have to be perfect. You're just getting a little bit of that blue underneath here. And really, you can even just cut like straight under here because nobody's going to see it. So to get paper out of my way, sometimes I just do that. I will come back and do the rest of that loop, but it's very inconvenient to have this large piece up at the top. So let's do that guy. Just using my foil as a guide. Go all the way around there. And I'm going to come back, and I do just want this section out. So we're just going to come up here. And once I've gotten past this little circle, because there's no other part that shows, you can just reach right under the silver and cut that section straight off so that one piece of silver just doesn't have any blue under it, but nobody knows. Okay, so there's your little wave, and my scrap wasn't long enough, but that's okay because we're trimming this wave anyways, so it didn't matter. Okay, and I'm actually going to just trim this background piece out because I couldn't get perfectly under there, and that's fine. Then I didn't have to. Okay, so here's my piece. We're going to bring in that yellow background now so that we actually had the white embossing under the wave, and the rest of it is now going to show through on the yellow. So we ended up missing out on a lot of this mist kind of look. So this is exactly what it will look like. I'm just going to take some tape and put that flat on top of the yellow. Do make sure you get this nice and snug. If you want, you can even come in and maybe add a couple dots of glue to get the tip of the wave to hold itself down like that. But we'll take off our tape. That, and go ahead and put it onto our background. There we go. Now this is why we didn't put this piece onto the blue yet, because I want to flip it over, trim that little piece off, and now it can be added to our card front. Go. This will go just right in the middle of this frame. It's just a slightly bigger measurement than your designer series paper, so it doesn't overwhelm or take away from the background. And then to add your little pieces, let's do this. So we've got our clouds. We're going to pop them all up on dimensionals, and we're actually going to pop our little bird and stilts up on dimensionals, as well as the tag. So you can just add dimensionals all over and then start placing however you'd like. I've got one cloud that I'd like up in the top left. I did kind of make him come off the page a bit, just for something fun. And then my next cloud, the large one, is going to go kind of the top right. And the small one can actually just kind of tuck underneath there. You don't want to see all of it. Just tuck him under really subtly like that. Pelican is good to go. And I just put him on the right hand side here. I did line the bottom of the wood up to the bottom of the silver ocean wave. Okay, so he's still well within that frame. There you go. And then the little sentiment is going on top of that. So you might actually just want to put your dimensionals straight onto the wood so that they don't end up lopsided somewhere along the way. There's our sentiment. Now, I thought it was kind of fun to use one of the little birdie stamps. So this little single bird stamp is from the Ocean set. And I'm going to use Night of Navy, but black would also look good. But we've used navy for a lot of things. So these birds are very subtle. Just ink them, add them very softly to any open space. Typically, I wouldn't stamp until, I'd put all my stamps on first, but because they're so tiny and you might run into, covering a bird up with an image, I thought it's easier to add them afterwards instead of dealing with that. So before we do the inside, I did think it was really fun if you grabbed some of the rhinestones, and we're just going to add them inside the waves on a couple points. So maybe a medium size and a small, and then use the opposite color set down in the bottom, but you can put them wherever you want. Okay, so that's just, I thought that was kind of fun. A medium and a small, then these large ones are still usable on something else. And then for the inside, because it's always fun, we are going to stamp with Early Espresso one more of our Pelicans. Right there. And you don't have to color this one unless you want to, but I thought it looks just really kind of simple and something fun for you to add to the card there. So there we go. I hope you guys enjoyed today's project. We did a little embossing, which we haven't done in a little while. And then you also had a chance to play with different elements. You know, if you really wanted to kind of simplify this, of course, you don't have to do the embossing. You could simply stamp with, you know, perhaps the Versamark ink, or you could stamp with a light color ink, even pink or something like that, yellow on here. And it would give you kind of the look of the wave, just not the definition that the embossing powder does. But if you're willing to try it, I don't think you'll be disappointed by this background. But you can also, you know, do an embossing folder back there too. That's another idea for you. But I hope you love this bundle and this suite as much as I do. Make sure to grab your paper and rhinestones while you can, just because I don't want you to miss out. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. I will see you guys next week. Bye.